strategy, our tools and strategies to navigate these trying times that we're in. I mean, we're in a very dynamic socioeconomic times where the socioeconomic indices are all changing at the speed of light. I remember my organization when we were forecasting for this year, we forecasted with a different rate of dollar, and today we've doubled that rate. So, and that is impacting a lot of things right now in our social economy here. I'm really looking forward to learning and sharing. We have an array of speakers, Temilade as well as Jumoke, will equally be sharing their perspectives on this matter. Next slide, please. So my role as head of HR for our commercial division in flour mills, which is the biggest conglomerate food manufacturing company in Africa. I'm going to be talking very closely from feedback and indices that we have received from the consumers. But before I delve into that, we are talking about business growth. And when we talk about business growth, I like to approach my introduction from two dimensions. The first dimension is the business growth. What is business growth for us? What is our understanding? What are the factors that drives business growth? I would just talk very briefly on that. I'm aware I have just 20 minutes. And the second dimension of my introduction will talk about inflation. And we'll look at the impact of inflation and how businesses are evolving to adjust to the impact of inflation. Because whether we like it or not, as individuals, as consumers, we are equally being affected. We'll look at it from consumer perspective, from business manufacturing perspective, and then my other amazing speakers in the house would equally share from their own area. So when we talk about business growth, a couple of factors affect business growth. And first and foremost is the market demands. The market demands. So you are in business to make profits. Or you're in business to meet certain needs of your consumers. So you meet their needs and demands through your products or services. In addition to that, your products and services must also meet the consumer's needs, right? And when you talk about meeting your consumers' needs, you need innovation to be able to provide, respond, and give them the best service or products that meets their needs. And Temilade will be talking today on quality, how quality of your products really does drive and grow your business. Effective sales and marketing is really important. The ability to reach your target audience, the ability to generate leads and convert them, and then keep your consumer, right? And it's important to also satisfy your consumers, because when you satisfy your consumers, you're retaining them. So let's move straight to the business aspect, which is the operations part. I work in a manufacturing organization where we also ensure that operationally we are efficient. We are not producing at a loss to meet business demand. So it's really important to also look and streamline our internal processes. How do we optimize our supply chain? How do we reduce waste? How do we drive cost efficiency and the likes? And then in people, this which is a critical pillar to drive business growth. How do you hire the right people with the right skill? Professor Larry spoke a lot about skills. We are in a world now where it is skills in demand. So how do you identify the right skills? And how do you develop and retain your people? And then partnership, strategic partnership. How do you collaborate with other alliances so that you're able to, grow your business? So having said all of those, let's look at it from the inflation aspects as well. So when we talk about inflation, inflation is on the rise. As at yesterday or 2 days ago, I read online that inflation is 29%. That is massive. And when we talk about inflation, what that basically means is the increase in price of goods and services in an economy. When inflation rises, it means purchasing power of consumer also drops, which means the certain amount of money you're using to buy certain products, it has gone up. I was chatting with a friend just this morning, and I said agege bread that we know, agege bread of 15 naira is now 250. And then my friend said something, said, and if you now press it, it just goes flat, it deflates here. So what that means is people are spending 5 times more to buy products and commodity that they were buying before. So that means there's a lot of money in the economy because people are spending so much more, and that's equally impacting consumer price index. But having said all of this, how your business, what grows your business, and the impact on inflation. So the focus of our discussion today is what are the strategies that we can put in place to navigate through this inflationary challenges that we are facing from a business perspective and also as individuals as well. I will talk about it from 3 dimensions based on the slide that you can see. In gaining ability and strategies to navigate through, it's fundamental that you understand the trends first. And let's look at it from a consumer behavior. My organization, we're in the food industry. What we have done, we've done a couple of market insights to understand how are consumers changing, adapting to the changing trends. One thing we've realized is, one, purchasing power has dropped. So research and insight has shown us that also has impacted demand. And how has it impacted demand? It's impacted demand from a couple of ways. The first is consumers are beginning to swap products for cheaper brands. They're looking for cheaper brands. They're looking for local alternatives because what they are used to buying now, they need to spend more. What are they also doing? They are equally, switching brands, looking for alternatives just to survive. We've discovered as well that the frequency at which consumers are consuming certain products has equally reduced. So people really are no longer eating 3 square meals per day anymore, right? They've reduced that to 1 main meal by midday. They snack in the morning and then have a main meal in the afternoon and then snack or look for something, in the evening. And people are also not able to buy as much as they used to buy. And all of this is shaping the economy. It is shaping how people are responding. And people are equally scrapping brands and looking for alternatives. However, having said all of this, what has been the implication? It means consumers now are seeking for value, but at lesser costs. So the ability for us to be able to give value at lesser cost is an opportunity. From a production point of view as well, there has been an increase in raw material costs, increase in production costs. We all know what diesel is saying right now. We all know the cost of petroleum. All of these are part of the key drivers, what drives, our business operating costs. So the increase in that has also been due to, because we are largely also an income-dependent economy. All right, and all of this is leading to a lot of uncertainty. Supply chain is equally being disrupted. The cost of moving goods from one point to another has equally increased. And from a market volatility point of view as well, interest rates are skyrocketing. Right? Commodity prices, equity market, a whole lot is happening. But having said that, right, what are the strategies to navigate through all of these realities that we are facing? First and foremost, like I mentioned, with crisis comes opportunities. And that is why we are having this learning session here today by BSN. So fantastic opportunity you're here today. First and foremost is begin to look at your product and look at how do you diversify. How do you diversify your categories in line with what your consumers need, right? How do you also look for strategic partnership as a business? If you're in a particular product line, how do you partner with other businesses in a similar product line to come up with a product that meets your consumers' needs? Be very close to the market and understand what the talent gaps are. For instance, let's make it a bit more practical. Diversification of products. Maybe your organization is into a particular service offering, and consumers are beginning to shift or change and seek alternative offerings. What do you need to do? Okay, let me make it very practical. We produce flour and we produce flour for people to bake bread. So we found out that as people are baking bread as well, there is also a need to have condiments on the bread. We discovered that there's an opportunity for us to also make spread. So we produce flour, then we produce spread, an alternative. In addition to that, people don't just want, the butter, the margarine spread. They want chocolate spread. Now we produce chocolate spread, and we produce it in strips of 50 naira. That is understanding the market and producing more products en masse. So that also speaks to the market seeking sachetization, which is people are no longer able to buy a jar of butter, would rather buy strip, and we eat on the go and move. So it's staying close to your business that gives you opportunity for insights to identify areas where there are opportunity within your consumers' behavior. Next is also, as businesses, we need to relook our model. I'll spend a bit more time here because this is where even HR support comes in. As HR people, it's no longer focusing only on the people, but also understanding your business model and the model that will work for your business. When HR professionals have full understanding of the way their businesses work, they're able to provide strategic solutions to help support their business. For instance, if your business model entails having a lot of people do one type of work, what you need to do as HR leaders, for HR professionals on this call, is to review with your business, what are the business models that would work? For instance, maybe you might begin to look, we might not need to have people on payroll for 30 days in a month. What are the ways we can streamline? One, through outsourcing. Businesses can look at outsourcing as a way to review their model so they can focus on other strategic areas within the business and then outsource some of the things that you do. You can use technology. I would elaborate on that later on, right? But for us, it's our ability to know how to start adapting our business strategies to help support our businesses to be resilient, adaptive in such inflationary period, such as we are in right now. You might also look at your pricing model for your products. I'll leave that to Temilade and Jumoke to highlight. But for me, it's more around the model within the structure of the business, where HR can look at where are the areas where we can decouple. We can decouple certain roles. We can decouple certain jobs. We can outsource certain jobs, right? We can look at maybe flexi work model. We can look at project-based, skill-specific model and the likes. And for me, this is when knowledge of understanding business comes into play, and BSN is one of the highly recommended organizations that can help you in understanding business models, business strategy. And that is really, really important, because when you have the right knowledge, it increases your value in the organization, where you can go and have more strategic business-focused conversations with your business because you understand the model and you have been armed with the adequate knowledge. Next slide, please. Okay, people, and this is where I'm going to spend the most of my time at this presentation. I spoke about business model because whatever HR is proposing in terms of your human capital strategy or people strategy has to fit your model. It has to fit your model. because that is the model is what you would build your people's strategy upon. So if you have a model where you have people doing multiple jobs and is increasing your overhead costs, you have multiple people do the same job, right? And your overhead cost is high, then you can begin to look at how can you efficiently review how work is done, how do you streamline work, how do you work efficiently to reduce overhead costs. I spoke about outsourcing earlier. I won't repeat that. So looking at your operating cost and people cost is an area where you can manage inflation. Another area as well is operationally as a business. What are the strategies you can put in place to minimize your operations costs? I know a couple of banks right now where to enable them manage their operations costs, they shut down at certain period of the day. In those days, there's some banks that used to work really late, but now to manage diesel costs and cost of running power, that has been streamlined. Somebody mentioned to me about organization where automatically within certain period of the day, the light goes off and that is break time. Everybody get up from your seat and move, exercise for about 30 minutes. And imagine saving 30 minutes of diesel hours so that people can engage and do other things where they're on inverter, the computers won't come up. That is saving power. And that's looking at areas where there are opportunities that you can save power within your organization. Then employment structure as well. I talked about sourcing. I talked about project-based. There are some roles that are project-based in your organization. You might not need people to come in physically to do those work. Projectize it. Be clear what skills you need. And this is where skill in demand comes in play. Professor Leary initially spoke about, us having problem-solving skills, analytical skills, critical thinking. And these are the skills that helps to position you in such a time as this. People are looking for employees that are very strategic, analytical, and they can solve problems. So it's not just, this is the task I've been assigned to do, but ability to think through the work and then profile solution at minimum cost for the business. You can look at project-based roles or opportunity for employees. You can have flexible work hours and make arrangements in that light. So work structure is also important, where you might not need to have people on site every day. You can look at the work from home model. You can look at flexi model. You can look at your project-based contracts. And from an HR point of view, there's also a need to look at the people behavior, because as you're driving costs, you don't want to lose people productivity as well. You need to be very mindful that as you're trying to manage your costs, you're increasing productivity. And how do you increase productivity? That is one, through people engagement and retention. Look at opportunities that can help you support the people in your organization. One, it could be palliative. It might be, you might not, in the case of trying to reduce headcount, also, drop productivity. No, you have to look at ways to increase productivity by being inclusive with your people initiative in your organization. Carpooling really helped when the petroleum subsidy was removed and people realized the need that they can no longer be putting all their cars on the road. Carpooling from a business point of view also helped. There were some arrangement that was made with shuttlers and a couple of organizations. There were ideas and strategies to help move people to work, but at a lower cost, so that as much as possible, people are more productive. You can, as people, some people encourage bulk buying just in a way to save costs more within what people spend money on. And I haven't said that budgeting is also very important. The ability to stay disciplined to your budget as a company, the ability to also look at various opportunities to earn extra income by diversification. I already spoke about that. It's also essential to prioritize what is important for your organization at that moment in time. Yes, there might be a couple of costs coming all at the same time, but prioritize what is essential. What is non-essential for our organization at this moment? How do you also face it out? I would like to equally mention reskilling and retooling at this point in time. Someone once said, what if we train our people? And there was a response, what if you don't train them and you keep them? There's no better time than now to have more business acumen trainings, business knowledge trainings, where you're helping people to begin to think strategically as business owners, not just as employees within an organization. You're building entrepreneurial mindset of your people. And that way, you're able to get them to think as business owners, prefer solutions for the business in driving and navigating through this inflationary period that we're in. I would also like to add here that this is the best time to come up with projects that focuses on what you can do as a business to maneuver through this challenging time. In my organization, a couple of months ago, we had a focus group session where we invited people, even employees, I meant. So we gave them a task. The business is looking at going into C brands. What can we do? What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? What have you seen? What have you observed within your community that we can do as a business to survive? That session was powerful because employees did not feel as employees. They felt as business owners. They felt as they own part of the business. And whatever decisions we're making as a business, they felt they were part of it. They were brilliant ideas that came in through at that period in time. So it's a time for us to leverage more on building capability of our people in ensuring they have the right skills that is needed for our organizations. Skills that are not needed, you can outsource those skills, you can projectize those skills, but getting clear what skills in demand is required for your organization at this period in time. I think I don't know if I have one or two more additional minutes, but I haven't said that. That will be my submission here today. Technology is important because with technology, it helps us to drive more efficiency. It helps us to, save more time. When we save more time, we're increasing efficiency, we are reducing cost to serve, cost to produce that product, or cost to make that service. In doing that, that also helps us to reduce the overall cost for the business. So on that note, I'd like to pause here. I have Temilade, who is going to be coming up now to equally share amazing strategies that we can also leverage on from our own area of expertise. Thank you so much.
You are the best. Over to you, Temilade. Just move on. The three amazings, the greatest.
Thank you so much, Elvi.
That's good.
Gideon, can you share my slides, please?
Okay. Thank you, Lara. Beautiful presentation. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Full screen. Let Gideon put it on full screen.
Okay.
No. I will come and help you. Okay, fine. Go to slideshow on top. No. You don't need to pull it out. Just bring it up. I will guide you.
We're ready now.
Awesome. Thank you. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. An absolutely incredible opportunity to be here to share my thoughts and perspectives on how we can drive business growth in these volatile times that we are in. Okay, so Gideon, if you switch to the next slide, and let me say thank you to Lara as well for kicking off the session so beautifully well. I think you've set the right context for us to build on. Just a little bit of stats before we go into it. I know Lara mentioned it, but just putting it into perspective and into the right context. As we all know, inflation in Nigeria has been increasing at a very alarming rate. As at the end of January, inflation was 29.9%. And when you look at the bucket, the food bucket is, the hardest hit, with food inflation at 35.4%. And it's no surprise that, when you go to the market, prices are changing every day. You can see consumer price index changes is at 2.6%, meaning, inflation is changing at a rate of 2.6% every now and then. And not also losing focus on exchange rates. This was as at January. As at today, I think the dollar is already about 1,600, just seeing all of these numbers and, looking at how it affects us on a day-to-day basis, we are all feeling the heat. So if you move to the next slide. No one is spared. Homes, businesses, everyone is feeling it. If you look at the price of egg, as at January last year, a crate of egg cost about 2,000 to 2,200, depending on where you stay or your area. As at today, a crate of egg is around 3,400 to 3,500. Let's take diesel as well. A liter, if you go back to the previous slide, please, a liter as at January last year was around 850. Today, we are looking at about 1,250. Again, you might think this is not a lot. You might think it's small, but when you look at the big picture, when everything is increasing in price day to day, and you still have the same bucket of money, say you still have 1,500, and you could buy 10 things before. Now you'd probably be able to buy 5, or you'd have to reduce or half the amount of things you're able to buy because your purchasing power is going down. And this is because of inflation. Everyone is feeling it. A lot of businesses have started to shut down. A lot of businesses are already on that trajectory of shutting down. However, it's not impossible for us to survive. And so if we're looking at all of this, there's a popular slang in Lagos now, if you go to the next slide, where you're engaging a seller and they're telling you, if you need to buy something, buy it today. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You snooze, you lose. You can price something today and it's 5,000 naira. Tomorrow, you're ready to make that purchase decision. It's already 6,500 naira. And you're wondering, wow. And Lara gave a very fantastic example, bread. The price of bread now is honestly outrageous, but these are essentials that people cannot do without. And so all over the world, business leaders are struggling and struggling. If you move to the next slide, please, Gideon, are struggling with rising costs. A lot of businesses would have to transfer this increase in price to their customers. But for how long will you continue to transfer prices to your customers? How sustainable is this? It is not impossible to survive in this environment. It is not impossible to stay competitive. It is also not impossible to remain nimble and adapt. But how can we do this? And so today, from my own lens and from my own perspective, I would be sharing some practices that can help you survive in this inflationary environment that we are in. So next slide, please. To survive in this environment, like I mentioned earlier, I think the first thing we need to do, we either as business owners or as employees, is we need to embrace volatility. It's here already. There's no need not understanding our reality. To be honest, at this point, it's almost better to say plan for the worst. When you're doing your financial planning and analysis, can happen, how was this time for everyone, businesses, even employees in an organization, to be in tune or to be in sync with financial plan analysis. It's not something that I do without now. As business leaders, I know CFO, I have a friend who is a CFO, and she's constantly doing business scenarios with our CEO, looking at the numbers. What has stayed with in January has changed in February, would probably change in March. So this should be an ongoing exercise. So you have to embrace the volatility that is here, and that enables you to plan adequately. The second one would be adopting effective cost management practices. And this is a very big bucket. I'm sure Jumoke would also be sharing more on this. Is how can you, looking at your system end to end, how do you reduce waste? How do you reduce inefficiencies? How do you optimize your supply chain? How do you streamline your operations? Lara mentioned something around, do we have to produce, 7 days a week? Do we have to run 3 shifts? Do we need 50 people on the line? Do we need 60 people in the factory? Try to de-dollarize as well. Can you localize your supply chain? Local supply chains are more resilient compared to global ones. If you're buying if you're importing, have you looked within? Can you support, local companies to do backward integration? Can you localize your supply chain? And, for me as a quality professional, this is one of the ways where we up the business to say, can we develop a pipeline of alternative source so that we ensure that from a business continuity point of view, the business is not constrained? How do we ensure that for different materials that we have 2, 3, 4 suppliers that are ready to come on board, and we've done due diligence so that when it's time to use them, it's a matter of plug and play. Also, point 3, position your products and services as a must-have. When we take Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, and scale of preference, there are things that are starting to take out other things on your scale of preference. I give an example. You have 5,000 naira, and before you would pay for DSTV, you would pay for internet subscription, you would buy groceries, you buy all of that. Today, I'm sure people have started thinking, do I need to pay for DSTV subscription? Is DSTV really important to me? Do I need to pay for that? What is then happening to multi-choice? They are losing customer base. They are losing revenue because people are starting to think, is this a must-have or a nice-to-have? So how can businesses then start to position their products or their services as a must-have, as an essential? And this would take a lot of marketing innovation, from the marketing team trying to position products well. Really important, because if people don't start to see your products or the services that you render as essential or as a must-have, they don't exchange their money for your products or services. And what happens is you start to lose revenue. And so it becomes harder for customers to buy your products. And one thing you don't want to lose, at this point in time, is to lose revenue. It's really, really important that you're able to maintain your revenue, because we all know cash flow is king. The moment a business is struggling with cash flow, the business is going down. The fourth one is businesses must not be afraid of being profitable. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, businesses exist to make profit. If they don't make profits, they can pay employees, they cannot grow. And so when you need to make hard decisions as a business, you need to make hard decisions, whether it's taking price increase, whether it is direct price increase or indirect price increase through things like shrinkflation. And this is when I'm sure we've all experienced this. When you buy products, they retain the same price, and they would silently, go from maybe 20 grams to 15 grams, but still maintaining the same price. So they are giving you lesser volume for the same price. This is an example of an indirect price increase. Businesses must also adopt, very, very creative pricing strategy. I know Lara mentioned a bit on this. Why it is important is because if you don't do that, you might think you're selling volume, but when you look at your numbers, you're actually running at a loss. So it's really important. An example is value-based pricing, where businesses, price their products on the value that they offer to customers. And this is really important. If you're going to price at premium, you must ensure that you're delivering superior quality. Even if it's an essential product or a commoditized product or a mainstream product that is an everyday product, where a market woman is saying, I just want detergent. I just want something that will foam. I'm not really big on maybe the fragrance of the detergent. You must still deliver the right quality at the value that you're giving to the customer. So if you're pricing something at 10 naira, you must deliver the value of 10 naira. If you're pricing at 15 naira, you must deliver at 15 naira. So the point is, do not be afraid of being profitable. You need to make money as a business. The fifth one will be innovating and diversifying. As a business, you must learn to innovate and diversify. And I love the story of MultiChoice. We all know they own DSTV and GoTV. And like I said earlier, what has started to happen that they started experiencing is lesser people are subscribing on a month-to-month basis. People are no longer paying for their subscription. I mean, you can drop it in the comment section. When was the last time you paid for your DSTV subscription? I don't pay anymore because I'm asking myself, why do I need to watch DSTV? But what they've done is they've innovated. I don't know how many people are aware of the new rebranding of Showmax. What they've done is they've rebranded Showmax, and they have, given a new offering with the Showmax. So now you can pay as little as 2,500. You're able to still watch, the Nigerian series, movies, even series from HBO and Premier League with 2,500. Before, you would need to pay for what type of subscription on your DSTV to be able to watch Premier League. That's an example of a company innovating, taking into context the economy and people's purchasing power, because they understand that if you're not getting revenue from this source, you have to innovate and get revenue from another source that is, of value at that point in time. Another example would be Peak. I think it was last year when they launched the Milky Pap. I don't know how many people have seen that product, Milky Pap. So now you can have milk, you can have pap that is milky in just one sachet. So before, you need to buy your pap and then you need to buy milk. So 2 products, you have to pay for 2 different products. Now there is Milky Pap. So Friesland has been able to also innovate and, develop a new product that is offering people 2-in-1. You have your pap and then you have milk. You don't need to pay for 2 things and at a cheaper price. So those are examples of how we need to start thinking about our offering, the kind of products and the kind of services that we give to our customers. Are we able to still deliver? Are we able to still serve? Look at, the kind of customers that you serve across the different segments of the Nigerian consumers. Am I playing at, the various segments? Where am I not playing? What do I need to do to play? How can I innovate? How can I diversify my portfolio so that I'm present, at every point of the segment, so that I'm not losing out on customers? So if customer A can pay for my premium products, do I have something at the bottom of the pyramid for them so that I'm still getting that revenue from that consumer? Of course, when you innovate and you diversify, you reach new customers. So customers that you were not serving before, you start to serve them. Another thing is, as consumers or customers start to do trade-offs with brands and with products, there are people that were buying maybe brand A before, and they can no longer afford brand A. Now they are looking at brand B. If you're the manufacturer of brand B, it's an opportunity for you to attract these customers. And so it means that you must be available, you must be present on shelf, you must deliver the superior experience that they need at the right quality. And that way you're able to get your new customers and, increase your revenue. Last is deliver what you promise. At the end of the day, when people are trying to, take out from the little that they have, like I said earlier, purchasing power has reduced. 2,000 naira last year, what it can buy is no longer what it can buy this year. So of course, the value of the money has gone down. And so from the same bucket, if you take an organization, let me say Unilever, we make toothpaste. Oral-B is not my only competitor. And I say this because as a family, who is going to buy toothpaste? I'm competing with someone that's also going to buy soap. I'm competing with a family that probably has children and they need to buy a diaper. They need to buy baby cream. So it's not only like-for-like competition that is going on again. You are competing with so many other things that people need to decide, the little money that I have, what am I going to spend it on? Do I have enough to go around? What am I going to take out of my shopping basket? What am I going to keep in my shopping basket? And so there's that competition that is going on. And so when people decide to pick you on shelf, it's really important that you must not lose sight of the right quality that you need to deliver to your customers. Whatever you promise to give to customers and consumers, you must deliver on that promise. And that is why they would keep coming back for more and more. Even with this inflation, The other day I was at the supermarket, and there was this lady that bought a lot of things, and she was complaining. She was like, "Oh, this is so expensive." But guess what? She still paid for it. She didn't drop it. And I looked at the products that she had. She had the premium brands, and I asked her, I was like, "Well, why didn't you pick this one?" And she's like, "You know what? This is what I like. What I like is what I like. I will still buy it. It just means that there are other things that I won't use anymore, other things that I won't buy." So it means that even for certain customers, they are still willing to pay your price. And if you remember point 4, don't be afraid of being profitable. The people who like your brand will like your brand. The people who will use you, right? And so when the people that are brand loyalists, people who love your brands, who love your products, when they decide to pick you, that value that they expect to get, that experience, that superior experience that they expect to get from your products or from your services, they must get it. And they must get value from their money. So don't allow people to think, why am I even paying 5,000 naira for this? And it's so bad. Why am I here? And nobody's even speaking to me. So it's really important that we take all of that into consideration. I think the final one is in organizations, as we start to adopt these practices or tweak it within our organization, it's important that business leaders carry everyone along. I think one thing that we do really well in my organization is that everyone is privy to the numbers. We all see how we are performing, everybody, top to bottom. And what this does is it opens up everybody's mind in the organization. You start to think of, what else can we do? How can we support the business? What can we do differently? In my role, either as an operator, either as a team leader, how can I support the business? If I need to come to work and ensure that I deliver right first time, no waste, if that is the role I need to play to manage cost, I need to ensure that I deliver all my products right first time and eliminate waste from the business. So as we do this, we cannot, try to survive in isolation as business leaders. We must ensure that we carry everybody in the organization along as we adopt these strategies. And so on this note, I will, pause here. I hope it's been insightful. And I will hand over to Jumoke, who is going to take us through, more solid strategies on how we can thrive in this environment. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Temilade. Okay. Prof, you mentioned that I may not be feeling the impact of inflation. I think inflation is not just a national problem in Nigeria. This is a global problem. I moved to South Africa early last year, and I remember the cost of items, the difference in the prices I pay for items, groceries. I'm talking of basic grocery, a loaf of bread. When I moved there last year, I used to buy bread for, I think, about 16 rands. Now it's between 21 and 22 rands. So inflation is a global problem, and I think what organizations must really opportunity to respond to consumer needs, because that is what inflation causes. So on this note, I say good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for dedicating time to join this session. I'm actually struggling to know what else to touch on this afternoon, because Lara, Temilade, and Prof, they've given all the points. I just wanted to start by saying, usually businesses, the general response to inflation, there are 3 general response to inflation by organizations. Usually it is by raising prices. When organizations raise prices, remember that this disrupts or upsets the customers. So Temilade was talking earlier, and she mentioned about how consumers or how people remember quality even beyond the price they pay. Yes, I know when you're talking about affordability is important, but it's also important to understand that the immediate or the only opportunity to responding to inflation is not just about raising prices. Because you raise prices, but when consumers have other options, then you lose your consumers. And then we have another point of cutting down on margins. Cutting down on margins, again, is not a sustainable option alone, because this disrupts this upsets your investors. Not only does it upset investors, but it also reduces profit margin. It reduces margins. And remember that businesses are there because of profits. And then a lot of organizations also respond by cutting corners. And I remember specifically the story told by Lara where she was talking about agege bread, that it's not only just about the price increase or the impact of inflation, but also the quality which has reduced, because you press the bread and then you realize that it's all bloated with air. What happens is that, yes, consumers will buy it because that is what they can afford. But the moment you have a more strategic manufacturer, a more strategic bakery, for example, in this case, who has been able to use innovation or technology or whatever other options, which I'll be talking about, to cut down on costs, then your consumers move, they switch, and you lose them forever. So I'm saying that because I want to emphasize on one, the importance of market visibility, marketing data, to position yourself to be agile enough as an organization providing either service or products to be able to respond to market need. The beauty of what we have today is the fact that there is ready marketing data. And I think that is one strategic position that organizations can take very quickly to ensure that they are in tune with what the market requires, what are the consumers requiring, what are the new trends in the market, which you can use to ensure that you embrace new sources of growth. To also say again that you have the data, but you also need to have the market visibility, because you need to be there in the faces of consumers. So having said this, you have the data. What is very important, or what is critical, is also your agility to innovate, to renovate, and to respond to marketing needs. And this is not just about manufacturing operations, which I'm an expert of. This also requires your supply chain readiness. It also embeds your strategic relationship with your suppliers, with every stakeholder that is relevant to the delivery of your product or service. Because without this, then you are not able enough to respond to the changes in the market. So innovation and agility to respond to market needs, to make changes within your organization to accommodate new innovations, new products, renovation, for example, where it's required. And then the other point which I also like to emphasize on is Lara mentioned earlier about strategic partnership. What kind of partnerships can you build with other manufacturers, with even cross-functional partnership? How can you ensure that you're working with other functions or with all the functions in your organization to eliminate work? There's some work that can be eliminated by just having a more collaborative, functional relationship. We need to really look at this. Then there is, in strategic supply chain and supply chain readiness, what is also important is what we call strategic planning. How do you have a business continuity plan in the case of disruptions, to respond to marketing, to changes in the markets? I think one of the speakers, Lara, was talking about, Temilade was talking about VUCA, the vocality and the disruptions in the supply chain today. But how strong are your business continuity plans, so that once those disruptions come in, especially the uncertainties, how agile are you to respond as a manufacturer or as a service provider to ensure that you do not create that gap in the markets? Because once the gap exists in the market, you can be sure that other service providers or other manufacturers are going to fill that gap. Gaps in the market do not remain there. It's an opportunity for people who are more agile to respond and then gain from that challenge, maybe which organizations or which smart organizations are able to turn to opportunity. As a manufacturing professional, I'm very passionate about productivity, because I think year on year, I have come to realize that within the organization, there are many, many, many ways and many opportunities that you can become more productive, just by ensuring that you cut costs in different ways. And how can you do this? We talk about end-to-end loss elimination. One, you have to understand what are your losses. And when I'm talking about waste and losses here, this is not just about the waste that you see physically. There's waste of repeated or unoptimized, repeated work, or when you have unnecessary complexity within the business, unnecessary hierarchy that limits or that prevents decision taking. You really have to study your organization with the mindset with a zero loss mindset. To say, what are the losses that exist in this organization? You need to stratify that and then prioritize what are the losses that you are going to put some investment to eliminate. And I can tell you that many times a lot of losses do not require investment. It only requires either a reorganization, a restructuring, changes in ways of working. Again, strategic partnerships. There are different avenues or different tools which you use to eliminate waste. Today, you would hear of, in organizations, you hear about lean, you hear about manufacturing excellence, you hear about what we call integrated work systems. All these tools are tools that organizations are embracing today as the only option or the only way of working, which can deliver a sustainable business, because waste in organizations always remain there. When I was reading an article a few days ago, and in the 2008 recession, I read the HBR review, which indicated that there was a study on 5,700 global companies in 2008. And the companies that were able to survive the inflation of 2008 were organizations or companies who were big on cost cutting. They were able to review within their organizations to understand what are the opportunities to boost productivity, what are the opportunities to ensure that waste is eliminated and cost-cutting initiatives are embedded. These were organizations that survived. Yeah. Then again, in supply chain, I'm using my field a lot here. We realize that there are many within every organization, and this is not just supply chain, in every function, there are many non-value added activities created by either organizational structures or unnecessary complexities. So organizations or managers need to be able to isolate what are these non-value added activities, what are the things that we call the nice to haves, which you must ensure that you strip down in your processes to ensure that we cut costs and deliver productivity. Another example here is you look at prices for services paid. You have contracts that are not agile, that are not nimble. You have stakeholders who do not understand the opportunities that exist within your organization for support. So these are some of the examples. And I think one other big one, which I don't think any of the speakers had mentioned, is having spend visibility. As a business owner or as an organization, do you really truly understand, have a clear view of what are your spends, what are the heavy spends, where does your cost go into, and how do you ensure that through strategic spending initiatives, you put controls in place, to ensure that every penny that is spent is bringing in value and there's return on investment. This is just about spending prioritization to ensure that everyone within the cadre in the organization or even as a business owner understands what is a nice to have and what is that initiative or what is that spend which brings back returns on the organization. Because the time in inflation, the time is not for you to spend money recklessly, but is to ensure that every investment or every spend is returning value to the organization. So cost scrutiny. I also like to touch on what I call management of change. Management of change. Because in responding to the needs of the market within the organization, how do you ensure that every change that comes in your processes to be able to respond to the market is well managed, is properly communicated within the organization so that every function is working collectively. And I'll give an example. I work in the factory. I've worked in the factory most of my life. Some decisions that I would have taken as a head of manufacturing or head of operation, if I had a better understanding of what is the strategic purpose or the strategic direction of the business, I would have taken faster initiatives or faster decisions. So I give examples of there's pressure on production, because there is high volume demand, and you are pressed as a factory employee to ensure that the products planned or the volume plan for your line comes out, because that is the only way the business can sell and make profits. But then there's an innovation coming on which requires trials on your equipment, because without the trials, make machine modification to be able to produce. But because you are shallow-minded and you believe that your job as an operations person is to make the product available, you haven't understood that there's a strategic direction of the business to, for example, bring in a new product, which must land in the market at a certain time. So you're unable to balance the decisions you're taking. But if you have a better view of what is the direction of the business, why am I doing this? Why is this necessary? Why is this important? Then you're able to take decision that at the end of the day benefits the organization, not just in the short term, in longer term, especially for organizations to remain sustainable. And then one other point that I like to talk about is I call it sustainability, but in talking about sustainability, I'm asking, as a business owner, how do you understand your processes, your relevant stakeholders? For example, what are the regulations? What are the regulatory bodies? What is the mandatory legal compliance required? Because these are factors that can disrupt your planning, that can disrupt your operations such that you're unable to respond to market needs. So sustainability is not just looking at our waste management or how we utilize our resources or how we utilize our energy and any other resource, but it's also about building strategic relationship with your regulators after understanding who are your critical stakeholders and ensuring that you, within your field, within your industry, you are in compliance. Because without that, then you don't have a sustainable business. It means one day you may lose your business, you may lose your operations because of a violation of a regulatory compliance. And then finally, I know Lara talked a lot about organizations, the human resources, people, culture. This is big because organizations that want to win in the marketplace, they start winning within. Irrespective of how strong your products are in the market, if you are not winning with your people within the organization, having a group of employees or a collection of employees who are engaged within the organization, who are competent within the organizations, without this strong culture within the organization, then the winning in the market cannot be sustained or cannot be delivered. So with this, I would pause and then hand over to Prof so that we can take questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so beautifully. I'm really, really, really grateful for the contributions from all of you. It's now time for us. Please, can all of you please show your videos, the panelists. So it's now for me to quickly find ways of just showing what I see as the summary of the presentations for today. While doing that, I will want all of you to please do your best to put your questions in the Q&A, not the chat room, the Q&A room, and we address all the questions. So I'll give you like 5 minutes. During this 5 minutes, I quickly scan through some of the issues. And I will want you for deeper understanding or to be able to connect the dots. Please, in the meantime, do your best to, Lara, kindly join us, Lara, if it's possible. Good, fantastic. Okay, so these people have made presentations. They have spoken about a couple of things. Just give me 1 second. I missed out on a slide. So, I think a slide. So just allow me to just add the things. This is, yeah. Beautiful. I have a summarized form of all the things that have been discussed today, and I'll be sharing it right away while you are putting in your questions in the Q&A box. We've gotten only 2 questions so far. I wish more people will ask questions to show that you listened. Good. During the day, these 3 presenters made up of, oh, what's happening? Did Lara drop out as a result of, I just want to be sure if she's there. No, she's not there. Okay.
She will be back. Our network is.
Okay, no problem. Good. During the course of presentation, these 3 people, everything they stated can be summed up. Can be summed up as 1, the need for us in a period of inflation in trying to build our business during a period of inflation, business growth in terms of inflation, the need to diversify, to identify strategic partnership that reduces costs without compromising on quality, the need for us to do market gap analysis, and to also do talent gaps analysis that enables us to know what are the skills we need to build in people and masteries. It's a period for us to focus on direction instead of focusing on the disruptions driven by the economic driven inflation. It's a period of understanding instead of focusing on the uncertainties in the marketplace. It's a period when clarity is needed by operators or businesses instead of focusing on the chaos. It's a period where you need to look at agility instead of focusing on the ambiguity. It's a period of resilience instead of focusing on the risk. And it's a period to actually embrace and celebrate diversity of opinion instead of fighting against diversity, because in the midst of all this diverse opinion, you find a very appropriate person. I will start an example. In 1986, there was devaluation of local currency, heavy. 1 naira was more than $1, and in a single day, the Secretary of the Government, Falaye, came up to announce in July, $1 was now equivalent to $3 naira, and there was chaos. So we gathered all the staff together. I was a manager, and there were some reps, salesmen, and one of the salesmen advised us, see, this thing will not be reversed. Prices of things will continue to go up. Indeed, it will go up to a level that it will be almost 20 naira to $1 in the next 1.5 years. And because he didn't study economics, he studied pharmacy as first degree. So we're looking at him, who are you? What do you know about economics? Who told you this thing will continue to? No, they have announced it's only 3 naira to $1. And he asked us, buy all the cash we need in the next 2 years. The only thing that will spoil in the car is the battery. You can always replace battery. So nobody listened to him. By the end of 87, 15 months after this, 18 months after this happened, by the end of 87, the official rate was 18 naira to $1. And the unofficial rate was 25 naira to $1. So, to a large extent, there are people who have been in this game before and who are no longer active in the industry by virtue of their age today. And so it's particularly important for us to be able to embrace diversity of opinion. We did not embrace it that time, but I always remember. So, and Jumoke came on board and asked or told us we need to prioritize our spending in addition to all the things that we have shared earlier. We also spoke about the management of change, the need for us to transform every day and to embrace change, to know that the first law of motion, the second law of motion, the third law of motion requires us to understand it from a perspective of social setting. Everybody will continue in a state of rest or uniform motion unless compared by some external forces, which means things will continue to go the way they are unless they are external. So unless you apply certain skill, inflation will continue to be the driver of your business instead of you being in control of the steering. First law. Second law, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. In social science, the rate at which you succeed with change management or transformation is directly proportional to the motivation that you put in the people's factor, the HR factor. So you need to motivate your people. And the last option is to every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which means every time you are making progress, competitors will react, certainly. It's our responsibility to therefore manage change, to understand that management of change is the order of the day, and to therefore, number of people assume a change rate this year will be 800, particularly those who did their budget in quarter 3 last year, budget for this year. They assume their change rate because CBN said so, that it will not be more than that. So they believed it. But I have a colleague of mine who just told me that they planned for 1,500 and it's now 1,500. So they are not shocked. And I've just predicted that maybe unless the CBN does some things quickly, it might end up at not less than 2,000 by the end of the year. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to learn to manage change on a daily basis. And she spoke about the need for sustainability. Whatever we do, we have to think not just in the short term, but think in the medium to long term. How sustainable our policies are. So what you see as inflation is very complex. And Lara had already given us the definitions, how it affects consumer behavior, business operations. But with the right strategies, we can survive. And one of the things that was recommended is diversification, not just in product but services, but also diversifying our product portfolio. And I have no doubt in my mind that the number of us will need to look at our product portfolio. BSN is already building beyond the MBA program. Short courses exist for FMCGs. Short courses exist for leadership. A number of people are signing on our advanced leadership program, senior leadership program, middle level leadership program, and for foundation leadership program for new managers. There was a need for also to have efficient cash flow management, and that's what Jumoke spoke about when he spoke about spending. He spoke about spending prioritization. So we must also monitor our cash flows, optimize working capital, identify ways to generate additional revenue stream. Our pricing strategies was mentioned by some of the speakers. The need for us to implement flexible pricing strategies and to look at our various products and services and look at their price elasticity of demand and to look at competitive pricing. It's time to note, like DSTV did, to have the Go and have the DSTV. The DSTV, some of the stories that Temilade was sharing today, I didn't know that DSTV is the owner of Go. The same people that is selling the highest premium. And it's a self-esteem to tell your wife at home that you have subscribed to the best, that allows her to watch any film, including some of the things you will have watched free, you are paying for it. So it is It's one chance for those of us who are. I don't watch DSTV anyway, but I bought it to keep my wife busy. Instead of her thinking of me, maybe I'm running after young girls, she will just be busy watching those things. So the need for us to rethink operational processes, to renegotiate the contracts, find cost-saving measures. We must optimize our resource allocation, seek efficiency gains in all operational areas, and business should focus on building strong customer relationship so that they stay with you and to retain customers and maintain revenue during periods of inflation. And I mean, you see that all the three of them spoke about the need for innovation and operational efficiency, and the need for us to expand our market, to identify new market or segments that will be less affected by inflation, and to explore international market where the impact may differ. Additionally, considering different financing options such as fixed interest rate loans or other financial instruments can also help us manage inflation. So driving business growth during inflation requires a multifaceted approach, and the strategies that have been recommended clearly are diversification, strong cash management, pricing strategies, cost control, customer focus, innovation and efficiency, market efficiency, expansion, finance options, and this will help us not just to be able to survive but to thrive in a period of inflation by mitigating effects and finding new growth opportunity. All these people have spoken to you from position of excellence, from position of authority, and they have been influenced, including Lara, by the business school Netherlands. And we want to give you an opportunity to read in Nigeria and graduate in the Netherlands with a number of different people at the globe. 8 to 10 students are fully satisfied, giving us a rating of 10 over 10. We bring in about 350, we graduate about 350 students globally every year. We are ranked among the world's best 10 MBA schools, and CEO Taiwan Global has rated us consistently for the past 8 years in Taiwan. We have several accreditations, including the Global ACBSB. Our MBA graduates worldwide are in excess of 7,000. We are proud to say that Nigeria has over 1,000 of that 7,000 as we started to graduate students. And we thank God that at any material time, we have not less than about 950 students who are in school in any particular year. 87% of our graduates, those who enrolled, they graduate, and we have international alumni that has provided much opportunity for business expansion for entrepreneurs and for career people to be able to have international affiliations and partnership all over the world. And like I mentioned, we are rated as number 8, and based on issue of quality, international diversity, size, as well as quality of teaching. We are able to stay on that top rank, and we are either you are in the Netherlands, in UK, Spain, France, Europe, in America, or Latin America, or South America. I want us to know that our qualifications are well accepted. For those who have received, who are interested, I would like you to see the need to snap this page. You can access our website. You can contact this number of Gideon. And then that will provide a very big opportunity. I hope the number I put there is correct, Gideon.
It's correct, sir.
Thank you. So, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. It's time for you to have personal invention that leads to professional invention, like we are seeing with Temilade and Jumoke. Knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. Intelligent people solve problems, but wise people prevent problems. So what that means is that it's for you to learn how to not just solve problems, but to also prevent problem of the impact of inflation, which you have learned. We have given you information, and I'm sure many of you are inspired from the comments I've seen on the chat room. Without application, it leads to frustration. But information with inspiration plus application leads to transformation. The good side of it is that in our business school, application is very essential to us. That's why we call it the Action Learning Business School. We expect you to take action. You have dreams, and you want some things you desire. But action is the distance between your dreams and the result that you desire. So we encourage every student to take action today. And in the same way, please take action today and just enroll. Remain bright, brave, be brave, be bold, be beautiful, be brilliant. Just be you. All these people who have spoken today, Lara, Temilade, and the last masquerade, Jumoke, who is the biggest, has certainly shown beyond reasonable doubt. They have shown brightness, they have shown bravery, they are bold, they are beautiful, and they are really, really brilliant in the way they've presented. You've seen some of them presented with the best of slides. You've seen another presented without slides, and yet you see there's effective communication. That is the result of what you see when you pass through business school Netherlands. We give people the passport for extraordinary transformation. We empower people to shape their destinies. We enable society to evolve towards a brighter future. We do not want to sit on the sideline and continue to criticize systems in every country all over the world. We want to be an active participant to transform every society we find ourselves. You can imagine these people in the organization, how well they will be playing very primary key role in transforming the organization. We're extremely proud of all of you. I want to thank all these speakers. I'm sure Gideon will give formal thank that is better than mine. I'd like to thank them and thank all the people who have attended this program. So in the meantime, let us take the questions. And I would like the speakers to go to the Q&A side. And I'll just read the questions and I will ask Jumoke to first of all answer before Temilade. So the questions, so just answer the question based on the things that bother you, so that you want to. With the high rate of inflation, is it the right time to invest? That's a question. Another anonymous attendee, that's from Chemical Identity. An anonymous attendee say, how do you as an employee convince a timid employer to boldly embrace entrepreneurship opportunity in a season like this? Another anonymous said, can you give more practical example of low value work that you identified in your organization? Because Lara did mention about low value work. I mean, there are some work that it's not as if they are not of value, but they may not be the most valuable. So there's always Pareto's principle in a period of inflation like this, not just for product or services, but also for talents and for activities. Then Larry Yanja, one of our pioneer students, who have been my mentor for decades now, he said, may I request for a copy of the presentation slide to be sent to our email? I will do so, sir, Larry, but you have to pay a new tuition. So remember, you did this course when it was less than 2 million. So now you have to come and pay a new tuition and I will send a copy of the slides to you. So another person asked, how do we find out about the essential leadership classes for senior leaders? We have provided the platform where I ask you to contact the Bunde. So in the meanwhile, I will call on, those are the questions that are on the Q&A. Recording has been done. Link will be provided to you.
Sorry, Professor Larry, can you make me a co-host? I can't access the Q&A chat, sir.
Who is speaking?
Lara Yeku speaking.
Oh, I didn't know you are back. I've looked for you.
I've been back learning under your wisdom as always.
No
sir.
vex, no vex. Why not? I will do so. I was looking. If I went to look for you on the other attendees list, you are back now fully.
I'm sorry, I got disconnected.
No problem. We will blame your service provider for internet. So may I ask Jumoke to speak first? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I think the most interesting question that I see here is a question about investment. Yes, inflation should not stop you from investment. The question is, what are you investing on? There are different ways we can invest. Maybe investing in machinery, investing in people, investing in initiatives. There are different investments. But the question you should be asking that informs the decision you take is, what is the return on the investment that I am making? There is a slogan in manufacturing today that says, sweat your assets. Are your assets giving you the maximum value for the maximum return for the value that they have? If you cannot justify the investment and the return that you have on investment, then it is not the right investment to do. So the question again comes back to what analysis, what tools are you using to understand where must you be investing, what is the right investment, what is the defined return on investment that you can afford, before going on investment. Before I go to the next question, please, I would pause a bit for any of my colleagues, panel members, maybe to add to what I have said on investment.
Okay, fantastic response. Thank you so much, Jumoke. I totally align with your submission in terms of your response on investment. I think for me, first and foremost, is getting clear your objective for investing. In addition to what you had mentioned, why are you investing? Are you investing for short-term, long-term? And in addition to that, what is your risk in terms of investment? We are in a world where there are lots of opportunities. What I would also advise is to speak to an expert, make your research, get informed, and understand the investment that suits the objective that you want to achieve based on the various approach to investment, like Jumoke had initially mentioned. What are you investing in? What are you seeking to achieve? For how long? What's your risk? Because with investment also comes your risk appetite. What is your risk appetite? Do you want to invest for short-term, long-term? Do you want to invest in assets? Do you want to invest in equity? Do you want to invest in initiatives? Do you want to invest in people's businesses? A few years back, for me, I realized the need to invest in some of my mentees' businesses. And I did that within a particular window period for, I think, for a couple of 2-3 years, where they had business years and I was able to invest in their business with very clear returns. At some point, so be very clear your purpose for investing, get adequately advised on the best investment option for yourself to meet the goal that you want to achieve.
Temilade, you want to...
Sorry, just to also add, sorry, sir. Yes, just to also add, invest in self-development, and I'll share a personal story. Invest in self-development. So there was a time that I needed to invest in building capacity in an area. And at some point, it looked that it was expensive. But guys, that was an investment that yielded return because I got a promotion afterwards. So like I mentioned, your purpose for investment has to be very clear. Some investment might not yield return in the now, but in the near future. So personal development is, for me, a critical investment that you have to, always invest.
Thank you, Lara.
If I may just add quickly, I think one popular rule of thumb is, I think during periods of high inflation like this, holding cash is not, advisable. So as much as you can, explore equities that can serve as the edge against inflation. Like Lara said, speak to an expert. I think for organizations as well, we've spoken about the importance of innovation and diversification as a strategy for, surviving in this type of environment. So it's really important that businesses also invest in their R&D. If you don't invest in your research and development, how then are you able to innovate, effectively? All right, over to you, Jumoke.
Thank you, Temilade. I was just going to add to Lara's point, on investing in personal, in yourself.
What I want you to do is to
Yes.
provide general answers for all the questions so that we move from one person to the other. Instead of
Okay.
taking,
Okay.
just make your
Okay.
general comment, Jumoke, on all the questions. Then
Okay.
Temilade comment, then Lara will close.
Okay, thank you. The second question I see here is what are the 3 ways? Okay, aside from 3 ways organizations respond to inflation, what other ways do we think organizations could respond better? I think we spoke a lot about other ways that organizations can respond better. I think the most important is staying close to the market, understanding what are the changing consumer needs, consumer trends, marketing data, and putting measures in place within your organization to be able to respond to those. For example, portfolio rationalization. What are those, whatever your product or service that you offer, what is changing, what is no longer relevant from what you already have to offer, what are you taking out, what are you putting in, how agile are you to make those changes and ensure that you respond to the market. Yeah. Okay, and the third one, could you please show the questions again? I think the third one was asking about how
Go to answer. Click on the answer. No, under the Q&A, just go to the answer page. You see all of them.
Okay. Then we have a question
Look at it.
around how can you make a timid employee to develop an entrepreneur spirit within the organization. One, information is power. Employees need to have information. They need to understand what is the goal, what is the objective of the organization, why am I here? What is the value that is required of me to add? And how do you put measures in place to make employees take ownership? How do you make employees believe that their efforts, their responsibilities, roles and responsibilities, and all that they do adds to the objectives of the organization? Because you can't make someone take ownership when he doesn't even believe in the value he's got to offer. And how does someone know the value he's got to offer when he doesn't understand what is required of him, or what is the goal, what is the objective of the organization? Then there's reward, there's recognition, there's also the importance of having the right culture in the organization, where you have managers who are leaders, who are mentoring, who are coaching, who understand the skill gap of their employees or their team members, and putting processes to support, to build capability. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Over to you, Temilade.
Okay. I think the second question, and what other ways can organizations respond better to inflation? I think one thing for me would be, don't be afraid to go global. Don't be afraid to expand your fishing net. With the rise of e-commerce and globalization, start to think outside of the local market to say, how can we serve, people outside of our local region? I think that's one way as well to respond, because doing that, you then start to earn foreign, and that would also help to drive revenue and, of course, profitability as well. The second one would be, how do you convince a timid employee to boldly embrace entrepreneurship? Like Jumoke said, I think it's information, and I mentioned that during my presentation as well. When we're adopting strategies like this in an organization, everybody needs to be part of it, meaning there has to be transparency, and that's, that has to do with information dissemination in the organization. Everybody should understand the role that they have to play in landing these strategies effectively. When people are clear on the big picture, when people are clear on the direction, and then when people are clear on the role that they have to play, convincing them becomes very easy, because that ownership then becomes very easy. People just take ownership. People want to be a part of the journey. People want to, support the organization to move forward. But it starts with ensuring that the right information is passed across the entire business. Everybody knows the role that they have to play, and everybody's clear on the big picture. And now hand over to Lara. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jumoke and Temilade, for your input. And honestly, you both have you've covered almost everything. But I'd like to respond to the question from the participant who would like me to elaborate on low value and how do you increase your value within the workplace? Because I did mention that part of the ways organizations can become more efficient to manage costs is to streamline task, roles, activities, use technology, and outsource some of the task or roles or responsibility that might be regarded as low value. And what do I mean? So value in the context of what is, one, strategic to the achievement of the business overall goal. Two, what is tactical. Three, what is operational. And then four, what are the other activities that does not really drive value from that scale. So for instance, let me be practical. Recruitment, you have let's take payroll. So you run payroll within your organization. That might be a low-hanging fruit where you can look at opportunity to either streamline, use technology, or outsource your payroll, given if you feel that the number of time spent can be reconsidered to do other strategic things within your organization. It could even be administrative activities. It could be facility management within your organization. Instead of hiring maybe staff in a whole department. Sorry. We were in Nigeria, so please, let's just continue to focus on my voice. So instead of having like many people do the same chore around facility management in your organization, you can outsource that task because it's administrative to an outsourcing facility management company who would provide that task as service and then bill you for it. That way, it is cheaper for you than paying salaries every month. That activity becomes a service that you pay an external company for, a consultant for, who renders it within certain period, and that way you're able to save more costs because the value of that work is not high in driving the overall operations or strategy for your organization. So value is subject to what the company considers as a key driver to driving the strategic intent, or just operational, or if it's something that we can devise an alternate way of doing it, and we would really not have major impact to the organization. So in that context, that is what value is. Value varies from organization to organization, and also based on what they prioritize in the value quotient. Those would be my contribution. Temilade and Jumoke already gave fantastic contribution to the questions asked. Thank you.
Great. Lara, are you through? Yeah. Thank you. Are you through?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
May I call on Gideon to provide us with, please put light on your face, Gideon. There are those of us who are in the middle ages, turn towards the window. And then,
I have, sir.
okay. No, the window is behind you. So
Yes, sir. Okay.
okay. So you are looking well. No, we middle age, you young ladies would like to see your face. You are bloody bachelor. So can you please deliver your last lecture? We have about 2 hours more, Temilade, so that you'll be speaking for the next 2 hours. So please, Gideon, can you speak?
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the opportunity. A very, very big thank you to all our great speakers this afternoon for demystifying the topic. I would like to say a very, very big thank you. I'm grateful. We are grateful. I'm sure the audience have been greatly impacted this afternoon. Thank you for sharing from your wealth of knowledge and experience with us this afternoon. A very big thank you to the audience for creating out time to attend this session. And trust me, it is out of the fact that at every point that we have sessions like this, you gain value from it. That's why when we call, you usually answer us. We want to say a very big thank you. We are not taking that for granted. Okay, so to take us back to what Mrs. Lara said during her presentation, to learn more on business strategy, yes, you need a place to be, and that place is Business School Netherlands. And you can confirm from our speakers that, there's so much to learn. There's so much they have learned from BSN in one way or the other, and they are impacting their world. Yes, they're impacting their world greatly from the knowledge they've gotten from us. And if you want to, speak, if you want to add value the way they are doing, you need to be a part of this community, which is the BSN community. We are having the first class of the year coming up in March, and enrollment is on at the moment. Feel free to reach out to the contact details on your screen at the moment to be a part of this. And I would like to say that you will get great value by doing this. Thank you very much. Hope to see you some other time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks to you, Lara. Thank you, Temilade. Thank you, Jumoke. It's been a wonderful session. And I've never really had this kind of beautiful presentation by three most brilliant mentors that I've had. It's such a very exciting time for me today. Today will be in my record that I'm privileged to have three of my mentors stay together at the same time, providing the best of knowledge across issues related to financial literacy, operations management, HR, marketing, finance, every area of business at me. And I'm so happy. And you have spoken in synchrony. You've been able to share the knowledge in a very wonderful way. I want to thank all the people. I must not fail to acknowledge the presence of many, the number of alumni of the school who are also here with us. I also want to thank another person who have also participated in running, in making presentation at the international level, BSN. I want to invite all our alumni and the members of the BSN community to be willing to speak for about 15 minutes at the Good Morning BSN. Please reach out to us if you're interested. Like Carol Ari have done, yeah, she has spoken at the BSN International Forum on Tuesdays in the morning from 9:30 a.m. I must also acknowledge Miola Additional, another big mentor of mine, and a number of others. I've also identified, some did not put their full name, but I've also identified Larry Yanda, whom I've been looking forward to for some time now. So, and I've asked her to get in touch with me. Yomi Ute, who is also a graduate of this school. I think one of the Kukoyis is here. Kukoyi was also one of our graduates. Shaba Mohammed, a mentor for me from many, many years. Shuaib Ahmed, I've not been in touch with you. Your number is no longer working. You've got to send me your correct number that is working now. So, as well as, let me see another, Winifred, Quentua Laboderi, the great and barista, is now making big money, and have refused to carry me along on how to make money. So let me thank all of you. I can't thank you enough. God bless you. So the recordings and the slides of all our presentation will be collated and be forwarded to all the people who are attendees at this forum. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.